I always kind of can never figure out if I'm live or not on these live stream when I kick this off. So just bear with me for one quick moment. And there we go. It's live. That's awesome. Awesome. So how's it going, everybody? It's Rev Kev here. Pray you're having an amazing, amazing day today. So it's Saturday afternoon. My family is all out Christmas shopping. So I'm kind of just killing some time at home. Hey there, Ambassador. Thanks for letting me know I'm live. I appreciate it. Yeah, just at home alone a little bit, kind of recouping from a pretty emotional evening and morning. I shared this with a few people on social media that people that we really care about, their son was in a pretty serious accident, sports injury. So we've been kind of just praying and trying to be available for them. And yeah, just praise God, like just seeing huge improvements already. So I'm just so grateful to God and the doctors and nurses that have been coming alongside my friend's son. And so yeah, but boy, it really helps you put some stuff into perspective and yeah, it just helps you really put life into perspective sometimes when we get all bent out of shape on certain things and all this kind of stuff. So anyways, I am just really grateful to be here today to just have a nice quiet afternoon and relax. And again, yeah, thanks, Ambassador, for joining me. Yeah, Funko Pop collection. This was new. I've never collected Funko Pops before. And cool. Glad you're going to see the movie tonight. And hey, if you want to touch base together, talk about it together, please, let me know. But yeah, so I just wanted to jump on here. I was hoping originally to do a video with my son, but again, he wanted to go do some Christmas shopping there. And so now he's out, my wife's out, my daughter's gone to work, my mother-in-law who lives with us, she's out. So it's like nice and quiet. Hey, MacDan Sav, thanks for joining me from the UK. Wow. What time is it over there in the UK now? You're what, 4 or 5 hours ahead of us? So you're just kind of getting close to dinner time, I guess. I think that's the way the time zone works. If I remember correctly, I was in the UK, stopped in Heathrow Airport on a trip to Lebanon about a month and a half ago. So there you go. Yeah, awesome airport that Heathrow Airport is. But boy, are those shops there significantly out of my pay scale. So yeah. Yes. Yeah. 8:00 at night. Very cool. Well, I'm so glad that you jumped in here and joined me here today. You know what? If you're new to the channel and you don't subscribe, anyone who's joined in with us, please hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. If you could hit that like button, really means a lot. My channel has been really taken off over the last couple of months. I'm so appreciative of that, and really means the world to me, the people who come and are a part of this community. And I'm really hoping to kind of use this in a way in the new year to just be more of a blessing to people, talk pop culture, just talk life. Obviously, I speak from my perspective. I am a pastor, so I do speak kind of unapologetically from a Christian worldview. But I love all people, and I love all different viewpoints. I love different, and I think one of the challenges that we have in our day and age is how we actually learn to communicate and love one another well. And it's okay to disagree. It's okay to disagree immensely, but there's still, I believe, this mandate for us to just love well, even in the disagreements. So really looking forward to seeing hopefully the channel kind of continue to grow and reach more people and hopefully have a positive influence in different, fandom cultures that I'm a part of, like Star Wars, like pop collecting, like board game playing, like, comic book reading, things like that. So anyway, all that to say, so I wanted to just jump on here for a little bit and talk about The Rise of Skywalker. So I will be talking spoilers. If you haven't seen it and you want to be completely spoiler free, I would encourage you to not stick around, hit that like button before you do leave, though. So yeah, and so but before I jump into the spoiler talk and just give my thoughts on the Rise of Skywalker, I went into this one having read all the leaks, having seen all the spoilers, because I could not walk into this one blind like I did the last two. I just couldn't do it. Star Wars has been such a huge part of my life for 42 years. I was 7 years old when I saw the first Star Wars. Or sorry, 6 years old when I saw the first Star Wars in 1977. It's been such a huge part of who I am. And as I've been just kind of on a spiritual renewal kind of journey, as I've hit midlife, I'm 48 years old. There's a little bit of an identity issue that happens because Star Wars was such a big part of who I am and everything that I've been a part of. And to kind of see it the way it's being handled by other people, it actually hurts a little bit because it's hitting me in my identity. Now, I know as a Christian, my identity is not in this. I know all that, but this is part of the journey. Hey there, Two Med Two. It's great to have you here. Thanks for jumping in. Really appreciate you being here today. So that's the thing. So when I go into this a movie, for me, it's not just a movie. It's not just escapism. Like for most other pop culture things, it totally is that. For the MCU, for the DCEU, for any other kind of movie, for James Bond movies, for Pixar movies, Disney movies, for any of those type of things, yeah, it is just pop culture. It's just enjoyment. It's entertainment. And I can brush it off. But Star Wars is different for me because it hits into my core of who I am. And so that's the first thing. So I went into the Rise of Skywalker. I read all the leaks. I read all the spoilers because I could not sit through another painful moment like what happened to Han Solo in The Force Awakens. I ugly cried for hours after that movie. I felt so horrible for my kids. Like my son, it was coming up, that was 4 years ago already. He was 14 at the time. He was devastated. He started crying because he saw the pain that scene had on me. And so that was pretty fascinating. And then to see Luke treated the same way in The Last Jedi, to just see him become this grumpy old hermit. And it just hurt. It wounded something inside me, and I could not walk into the Rise of Skywalker the same way. Yeah. Which is the ambassador of my wife is the same way. She was dumbfounded by what she discovered. Yeah, so was I. I totally was as well. And but did you think they were going to live forever? Well, that's a great question. No, of course I wasn't. I didn't think they were going to live forever. But because for me, Star Wars is not science fiction. Star Wars is mythology. For me, it felt it needed to continue along the hero's journey. It needed to, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment here as well. The way the characters were handled, the way they were killed, didn't fit the mythological hero's journey, and even kind of theological stuff that George Lucas studied in creating these characters. It fit. It felt like a violation to that genre of storytelling. You know, they're going to have you on one of my live chats one of these Mondays. I would love to. Just shoot me a DM. And, I'm pretty sure you follow me on Twitter. If you don't, I'll stick the handle in here in a moment. But yeah, I'm always happy to jump on other people's channels and talk about this stuff. It's always a lot of fun for me. So I did. I went into the Rise of Skywalker thinking like that. I needed to be prepared for it. The other thing, and this is where people treat me like I'm a total crazy person, because I'm a story guy, right? Story is hugely important to me. And I don't just mean that, hey, that one movie was a good story. I mean that it has to tie in together. It has to fit. You can't break a rule in one movie based on something that you did in another movie just for the sake of sloppy storytelling, right? Again, one of the things I do as part of my job as a pastor is I study ancient texts, right? Like I have a degree, in theological studies. I read books, that are like this thick, and I read stuff like this for fun, for kicks and giggles, to get deeper into the text. Like this one book here, this is, a commentary book just for this for Leviticus and Numbers, some ancient Hebrew text. And this is just 2 out of the 66 books of the Bible. So I've got like 60 more books like this size just from this series. I read stuff like, like this. This is like a survey of the Old Testament. Like I get deep into the dates. I get deep into the story. Like this stuff is important to me in what I do. So when I go into something like The Rise of Skywalker, I go in with that frame, like that lens of this is lore. This is bigger than simply one movie. And so that's kind of the thing. And so when I try to explain this to people, when I use language like they broke the story, people are like, oh, you're a hater. And I'm like, no, they broke the story. See, and again, when I study these ancient texts, when I study the scriptures, and I try to explain this to people who don't understand ancient literature and the study of ancient literature. And of course they can't, because they don't have a degree in it like I do. And it makes me look like a total nerd when I try to explain this to people who don't have this same kind of degree. But when I tell them, it's like, no, you don't seem to understand the Bible as an example. Not to be a Bible pusher, but the Bible as an example, it's 66 books written over thousands of years by dozens of authors on 3 or 4 different continents. There are 3 different continents across different countries and multiple languages. Yet from beginning to end, the story flows. The story is consistent in that story of human redemption. So you can do it. We have examples of this in in religion, in theology, the ancient myth, the mythology that George Lucas used to study to create the original trilogy. Like that's what George Lucas did. He studied at that depth, at that level when he created his stories. So all that to say, 13-minute introduction. And I do again appreciate you. Hey, Doug School, thanks for popping in. So great to have you here. And so when I approach a movie, not so much the MCU, not so much Superman, Batman, those movies, but when I approach Star Wars, I approach Star Wars theologically. I approach Star Wars mythologically. I approach Star Wars methodologically. Does the method flow and make sense? Is, a systematic approach to the story. Whew, that's exhausting, I know. Thankfully, my 18-year-old and my 16-year-old don't approach the movies in the same way. You know what? Kind of having a hard time reading here and seeing who's popping in. So there we go. Let's see. You're not wrong. Star Wars has become in some ways like religion and politics. See, the reason why Star Wars caught on in 1977 is because George Lucas wrote it with that first generation in mind. And what I mean by that first generation, it was the first generation who has walked away from the predominant faith of Western culture. You see, the baby boomer generation is the generation that has walked away from organized faith, organized religion. That next generation rose up, were raised without stories larger than themselves. That's a huge thing when you study and you look at how did Star Wars become so popular, because George Lucas wrote it into a culture that it was the first culture without a larger narrative. The boomer generation had begun starting to move away, had started, the whole free love movement and all these kind of things. And that next generation that kind of came up under and behind them was the first generation to grow up without a mythology, without a theology, without a faith. And so that exploded among people because it spoke to a wiring in the human heart, right? I have to show you my theological library sometime. It's huge. It isn't huge, but I have lots of stuff. You know what? That's awesome. Sometimes it just takes one or two really good books. I've got a lot of books. I started moving digitally, so now I actually, I think I can share this here. How do I share my screen? Do I share my screen? Do that. Show my application window. I can show you this. So I've got this Logos Bible software. This is what I use now. Whoops. It's got to restart. Never mind. Can't show you now. It's got to restart. But 800 books, all fully indexed, and it's crazy. Awesome tool. So yeah. So anyways, all this to say, Rise of Skywalker. What do I think? Again, there will be spoilers. There will be spoilers. Hey, Sith Lord. Awesome that you could join me here. Really appreciate you stopping by. Just about to jump in. I set up a big, huge introduction of how I'm a crazy man and how I think about these things. So the Rise of Skywalker, right out of the gate, I'm going to say this. As a standalone Star Wars adventure, loved it. I really did. I think J.J. Abrams listened to the fans who were disappointed and who hated The Last Jedi. I think he sped it up. He ramped it up. He brought the buddies together. He brought the three friends together. C-3PO was there. R2-D2 was there. I love the little D-O robot. He was awesome. I love that new character. The little gnome-type creature thing that was reprogramming. Awesome. So there were new characters. Leia, oh my goodness, they did such an amazing job with Leia. I liked Rey in this. I liked Kylo Ren in this. So as a standalone Star Wars adventure, Lucasfilm did a lot of things right. I really do believe they heard us. They heard the people who weren't happy. They heard the complaints, and they did a course correction on the managing of telling a Star Wars story. So lots of things I loved about the movie as a standalone Star Wars story. However, what that means is, as a large 9-part story, I hated it. Again, just like The Last Jedi before it, it broke the large narrative story of episode 1 to episode 9. Episode 7, The Force Awakens, still fit in there. I was very excited to kind of see where they were going to go. 8 broke it. 9 continued to break it, didn't fix it. So loved it as a standalone Star Wars adventure. Hated it as a conclusion to the Skywalker saga, to a 9-part story. For me, it just broke. And yeah. So I'll get into some of the details of what I loved and what I hate. I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat here, see who's joining us. So Sis Lord, awesome having you here. Macdan Save, in a religious sense, Star Wars seems to be all things to all men. You can read into it what you want. I heard someone say that it's some kind of Zoroastrian. Don't know what that word means. I'll have to Google that one after the fact. But you're right, because he didn't pick it just from one faith, right? So anytime Christians kind of say, it's a Christian message and it's a clear Messianic message. No, he took stuff from that. He took stuff from, obviously, there was Messianic messaging, virgin birth, things like that. But he took a lot of stuff from Buddhism, spirituality, humanism, Zen, all this kind of stuff is all in there as well, too. So, yeah, so it's not kind of like this Christian message, but there's definitely a message. And again, because that's what connects to the human heart. And so that's why I think so many people connect with the basic story of Star Wars. So Ambassador says, Logos is excellent. Great resource. Yeah, spoiled rot. I love my Logos software. 2Mid2, completely disagree. I don't think Lucis Fell gave any credence to people that yelled and screamed about not making the movie that they wanted. I don't think Lucas felt give any credence to the people that yelled and screamed. That's Lucasfilm. Okay, gotcha. Sorry. You know, it's possible. It's possible, but there's, for me personally, what it looks like is there was such a stark difference between the handling of characters in The Last Jedi compared to The Rise of Skywalker. Could it just be the difference between Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams? Maybe. You might be right. But it just seems so contrast in how the characters were handled. And a lot of the complaints online for the last 2 years, it just felt like the Rise of Skywalker dealt with that. 57% on Rotten Tomato from the critics. That suggests that the movie is probably worth watching. The fan score is currently 86, which is fascinating because it's the exact opposite of The Last Jedi, where you had the critics who loved it, and then the fans who are like, and then it just completely switches around for this one. Again, why is that? It's because the critics didn't think it took enough risks. I mean, you got to give Rian Johnson some credit. He took some pretty big risks. Now, they didn't pay off, but he took some pretty big risks. So maybe the critics like that when you mess up something that's stable and has been good for, 40 years. And so that set the fans off. But now, since this one went back to being a little bit more stable in its storytelling, the critics are disappointed with it, and the fans are like, "Oh, thank goodness you brought Star Wars back." Could be. So, yeah, and then I just think that's the different writers, different directors. Again, quite possible. Totally. I don't disagree with you at all on that. That is quite possible. Again, it just looks like so much of the course correction that they did. And just the number of ways that they completely ignore The Last Jedi is like, come on. They really go out of their way to say, yeah, you know what? The stuff you didn't like about The Last Jedi, yeah, we didn't like it either, and so I got rid of that. So, but that could just be me reading into it. All right, so let's talk for a little bit. What I loved about the movie, Kylo Ren was awesome. This was awesome. For me, Kylo Ren in the first movie just felt a little bit like a Vader wannabe, but he was still conflicted between the good and the bad. Now, in The Force Awakens, I loved every scene when Kylo Ren would have one of those hissy fits when, like the officer would come up and said, oh, the BB-8 unit got away and had help from a girl and, smashing everything. It's like, oh, anything else? Or, when he's smashing up when Rey got away, smashing up the thing and the stormtroopers came and saw it and they're like, boop, turn around, walk away. I loved all of that. So I thought that was a great way of handling Kylo Ren. Last Jedi, he was terrible. He was terrible in The Last Jedi. I didn't connect with him at all as a villain. I thought he was really bad and weak and just didn't buy it. But this one, man, they just turned him around and suddenly he was this threat. There was this presence about him. The character just seemed to really come off a lot stronger. Loved Kylo Ren. That's the first thing I liked. Second thing I really liked is I really liked Rey again. Again, loved the character of Rey in The Force Awakens, was very curious to see what they were going to do with her. And for the first 3/4 of this movie, I was back. I was enjoying her character again. Again, I like Rey. Right out loud. I've got a movie accurate Rey staff here that my daughter uses for her Rey costume when we go out trooping with the 501st. Like, she was a good, interesting character. And then I think they just, again, in The Last Jedi, they messed her up. They just went, they just didn't do a good job with it. Now, sidebar, was she overpowered? Holy smokes, yes. But I'm going to get into that in the stuff that I don't like, what I didn't like about The Rise of Skywalker. But it was really cool to see her character come back and become a little bit more interesting again, or become a lot more interesting than it was in The Last Jedi. So I liked Rey. The other characters, Poe, was good. I liked him. Again, I thought he was really cool. Finn did a much better job with Finn. Again, for me, Finn, sadly, is just such a sad missed opportunity. There were so much more opportunities that they could have done with Finn. And making Finn clearly Force sensitive in this movie should have been done in the last one as well. Okay. So love what they did with the characters. The new characters that they introduced, loved them. I thought they were great. I thought they were interesting, and I think they add something, and I hope there's going to be some good novels, good comic books, good video games with these new characters going forward. So I loved all the characters. And probably the thing that I loved the most about The Rise of Skywalker was Kylo Ren's redemption. I was weary of that from the get-go because because of what they did with him in The Last Jedi, he felt unredeemable. Now, my wife made a comment about that because I said that before we went to go see the movie. She goes, Kevin, you're a pastor, you believe in Jesus, and you believe that every single person on the planet is redeemable and everyone can receive forgiveness. And I went, yes, except Kylo Ren. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't actually say that, but it just felt like they painted themselves into a corner with Kylo Ren, and it just felt like Kylo Ren was irredeemable based on where the story went. So I loved how they redeemed him. I love how they killed Kylo Ren and brought Ben Solo back. I made a video a couple of weeks ago on what I needed to see in The Rise of Skywalker for the Rise of Skywalker to turn around for me. Two things I needed to see. I needed to see the return of the Emperor make sense, and the death of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker be redeemed. And for me, that scene with Han Solo and Ben Solo redeemed the death of Han Solo. Like literally the hair on my arms are standing up right now thinking about it. That scene was amazing. Now, people are arguing online, was it a Force ghost? No, was not a Force ghost. Again, I think because Maz Kanata made some comment that Leia is reaching out to Ben. That's what killed Leia, is Leia was using the Force to tap into some memories of Ben so that Ben would see his father. I think Leia did that through the Force. And again, wonky Force power. There was tons of wonky Force powers in this movie, but I loved that scene. I loved it. I was crying in that scene. It was beautiful, beautifully well acted. That was Adam Driver at his best. That was Harrison Ford as Han Solo at his best. So appreciated that scene and the death of Han Solo being redeemed. I needed that. I'm a Han Solo guy. Where is he? Han Solo guy. Solo wasn't a great movie, but I still buy all the Solo pop figures because Han Solo was my guy. So character-wise, redemption story-wise, again, beautiful movie. That's never an issue with Star Wars. So those are just really some of the things that I really loved. So here, let me just jump into the chat here and see who's here with us. Sis Lord, I think the entire Disney trilogy has just been a jumbled pile of poop. Yeah, it would have been nice if it wasn't, but it was. Oh well. You're right. I mean, it's clearly was not organized. The jump between The Force Awakens to The Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker for me is definitely a sequel of The Force Awakens and not a sequel of The Last Jedi. If they would have just sat down, spend an extra, and it wouldn't have taken a lot of time. It would have taken an extra month to just get all the ducks lined up in a row, plan out the story, get a yellow notepad of paper like George Lucas used to do and say, this is episode 1, this is episode 2, this is episode 3. Well, in this case, this is 7, this is 8, this is 9. You know the main plot points. You know where you're going. So directors aren't quitting because they can't work with Luke Skywalker and all the different rumors that have happened. So totally agree. It does totally fit like that. Hey, Second Street Marvel. Awesome. So glad that you joined us here today. It's great to have you here. The Rise of Skywalker should have been the follow-up to The Force Awakens. Absolutely. Agree. 1,000%. Glad I enjoyed it. Thanks, Sis Lord. Again, I honestly, the first 10 minutes I was there and I was Mr. Grumpy Pants. I was grumpy. But I was sitting beside my 16-year-old daughter who was like, and so I'm like, wow, she's really loving this. What is she seeing that I'm not seeing? And so then I kind of had a bit of an attitude switch. And so I kind of changed my attitude. I'm like, oh, okay. I see what she's seeing. Okay, I got it. That helped me change. So turn my thoughts around and took my thoughts captive and all of that kind of stuff and had a better attitude. So, and then enjoyed it. What I didn't like, let's talk about what I didn't like about The Last Jedi is I didn't like the Emperor. I just didn't. Looked cool as heck. That Emperor, like he was almost like a zombie. His hands were all decomposed. His face all sunken in. He had zombie eyes. And being on this big kind of crane that moved him around. I was like, that is awesome visually. But I needed for me to get drawn into that story again because I'm a big picture story guy. The narrative got to fit together 1 to 9 to just have this one line in the crawl saying the dead speak. Emperor Palpatine sent a message to the galaxy. How? Like, come on, like we've all seen the pictures of the exploding Death Star. We all saw the shaft that he fell down. We all saw the lightning that he was being hit by while Vader threw him. Lightning that killed Vader. Lightning that probably killed him. Lightning that killed him at the end of this movie. It's like the Emperor bringing him back was clearly not the plan. It showed it didn't fit. And every time the story kept bringing me closer and closer to the Emperor, I just was going, this is where it dies. This is where it falls apart. It's about to take me out of the story. I'm enjoying the story, even though some people have described the whole thing as just being a treasure hunt, just one thing to the next thing to the next thing. It worked for me. I was okay with it. It was an adventure. It actually felt like me and my buddies playing the old Star Wars role-playing game, and just go from the one adventure to the next adventure. Hey, now we've leveled up and now we have new gear and now we can go on the next adventure. So it actually felt like a lot of fun for me until it just kept getting closer and closer and closer to the Emperor. And it's like, oh, where is this going? So I didn't like the Emperor, even though Ian McDiarmid's performance was incredible. Like, it was so incredible, but because you didn't explain it, now I get it. There'll probably be some comic book one day that you're going to bring out, or some novel or some video game that you're going to bring out, but it had to be there, because that was my biggest problem with The Force Awakens, is where did this First Order come from? Right? The First Order is a terrorist group. There's an official government. There's a military. There's a navy. There's all of these things in place after 30 years. The First Order is like ISIS. It's a terrorist group, right? It's not government. And then for them to have all this tech and all this power and have a leader like Snoke, it needed something. But where did you come from? It just didn't fit with episode 1 to 6. But I got over it, except for in The Last Jedi. But in this one, okay, you're willing to look over it. They're now in charge. They've been in charge for a year or whatever. They've kind of got a shoehorn into the galaxy. Fine. But the Emperor coming back when there was no hint, no nothing. It just really took me out of the story. So I didn't like that. And so basically for me, the story fell apart from the time Rey shows up to get to the Emperor and is about to wipe him out. The temptation that she faced from the Emperor was in no way a threat in any way whatsoever, because Rey's not turned into the dark side. Like, who cares if the fact that they made her a Palpatine again just kind of ruins for me the character of the Emperor. Like, the Emperor is above sex. Can I say that? Is that okay to say? Like, he's just not. That's just not what he's into. It's power. It's controlling the galaxy. He's not, and it's not like, I'm sleeping around with as many women as I can and I'm impregnating all these people. No, because he wouldn't want heirs, right? Like he said, the whole thing of the Sith is there's two, right? There's one who has power and there's one who wants it. That's the lore that they created. Now, I get it. They threw all that stuff out with the books, but the movies have that. Only two there are, a master and an apprentice. So a Sith Lord, a Sith Master wouldn't want heirs, wouldn't want someone who has his midi-chlorian count. It didn't fit for him to procreate. Now, I get it. Everyone gets an itch, and even Sith get lonely. Okay, fine, but it just didn't fit. So didn't fit that way. And then to have this temptation of exactly, Palpatine gets around. Palpatine the player, like someone's going to make some memes about that, Anyways, I won't, but someone's going to. Someone, and the First Order felt like a dollar store empire. Totally agree with you. It just didn't fit. Treated as a terrorist group that's trying to subvert the government, that could have been really fascinating. Just like coming in and striking and all this kind of stuff, but trying to take over the galaxy doesn't make any sense to me. So, but that temptation from the Emperor, just strike me down so I can come and live in you. Just walk away. Leave the room. Like, you want to beat him? Just walk away. Don't let him take your body, because clearly he's about to die. Wipe out the fleet, blow up the base, and just let him rot in this dungeon for the rest of his life. It seemed pretty easy to beat him. So the temptation part of Rey didn't fit. The death of Palpatine did not. Oh my goodness, that was so bad. It was bad in its level of boredom. It wasn't exciting. It was, I'm shooting lightning at you and you're blocking it and it's coming back at me. So just stop. Like, stop shooting lightning. Like, you're like, oh, it's hitting me. Ah, okay, turn it off. Really? So yeah, it just seemed, and then, oh, he's dead now. But that's how he died in the other one. He died with lightning. He died with, looks like he disintegrated. It looked like he fell down that shaft and the big white light comes shooting up. He died the exact same way. Lightning, and then kind of this light came out. Does that just mean he just went somewhere else? And guess what? The next trilogy, next movies, Palpatine's just still coming back. So that whole Palpatine stuff for me, again, just from that episode 1 to episode 9, just killed it. Killed the big picture story. It wrecks Anakin's story. Now I get you try to throw in a line, Rey, bring the balance like I once did. It's like, not bringing Anakin in that movie was such a big missed opportunity. Like the rumors that Hayden Christensen was coming back, the fact that they didn't do that was probably the biggest heartbreaking thing. You wanted to tie those movies in, one big giant saga. It needed Anakin Skywalker because the story was about Anakin Skywalker. That's it. The rise, fall, redemption of Anakin Skywalker. That's what the Skywalker saga is about. So yeah, I didn't like any of that ending. But then I was okay with the final ending. I know a lot of people are complaining about this at the end when Rey goes back to Tatooine, moves into the old farmstead, buries the lightsabers, builds her own, and changes her name to Skywalker. I'm fine with that. I was okay with that, really. By that point, I'd kind of checked out, and I knew that was coming, so that wasn't a surprise. I knew that was coming from the leaks. And that was always the rumor too, right? Like there were so many different rumors on the title, The Rise of Skywalker. Oh, it's not. Oh, it's Anakin Skywalker coming back. Oh no, it's not Anakin Skywalker. It's going to be a new Jedi Order, and they're not going to be called Jedi. They're going to be called Skywalker. So many different things were rumored based on the title. Obviously, they didn't do any of those things. The title makes no sense whatsoever. because no Skywalker rose. There was no resurrection of any Skywalker. You always had, I mean, unless it's Kylo Ren, but he wasn't a Skywalker. He was a Solo. So, I don't know. That's just kind of that. Didn't like that. Oh, and the last thing I didn't like was the kiss. And here's why. Not because I know some of the Reylo people online are a little creepy. Don't Google Reylo ever. I did that. Like, I remember once I was a friend of mine. My friend was like, "Oh, what's the big deal about Reylo?" And I was like, "Dude, Google it, because it's like there's some messed up people drawing some messed up stuff, and we don't know where this story's going. They could be related. Don't make those paintings and those artwork." So, but you know what? It just didn't fit Rey's character for her to even remotely be in love. Like that type of passionate physical love with Kylo Ren or with Ben Solo. She never knew Ben Solo. Again, there may have been a glimpse of that person, of that light, just like how Luke Skywalker saw a little bit of glimpse, a little bit of hope in Anakin Skywalker, and he was willing to sacrifice himself for Darth Vader to redeem him. That's a different story, right? That's a son who sees some good in his evil father and will do everything to redeem him. That's different than, oh my goodness, I love you and grab you and make out with you type of thing. That was just kind of icky. And if I was trying to promote kind of a feminist message of the strength of women, the independence of women, the men and women of being equal, value. And you know what? And I believe in all those things. I believe men and women are fully equal before the sight of God. I believe that men and women both equally are created in the image and likeness of God, that it's a holiness in our humanity. I believe that to the core of my being. But then to sit there and say, oh, wow, this guy who I've seen abused, like he murdered Han Solo and he murdered people and he murdered these people and he tortured me. Remember, she was tortured by him to get information out of her, and all of these things. And he fought and he killed and he tried to kill my friends and he destroyed the spine of my best friend Finn. And to sit there, even if she could sense this little bit of good, but for that to turn into a love, physical, type of love, it's like, that's messed up. Like, that's unhealthy. Like I do counseling for people like that. Like that's not right. It's messed up. It's broken. So, and everybody laughed in my theater at that part. My 16-year-old daughter busted her gut laughing at that moment. She was like, because she thought she's a 16-year-old girl and she is solid in her faith and solid in her identity. And she said, that would never happen. With a character like Rey. So anyways, those are the things that I didn't like about it. So again, it's very similar to my initial reaction to The Last Jedi. When The Last Jedi came out 2 years ago, I was like, wow, that was a great event. I loved it, but it broke the story. And then I watched that one over time. And I'm like, man, I don't love this movie. It's got so many plot holes and so many mistakes. But then The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, again, I'm loving this adventure. I'm loving this. I'm really enjoying this. But then you broke the story. Come on. 2 weeks of work. Get your story group together and get them aligned. And it could have been just so much more. So I stand behind what Mark Hamill put on Twitter a few months ago, #missed opportunity. I really do stand behind that. So here, let me just jump back here into the chat, see what people are saying. I'm looking at the chat here on my cell phone. My cell phone's about to die. I've tried to read. Oh, go back. Palpatine gets around. Okay, so Mac Dan Sav, I think The Force Awakens would have been better with the rebels in charge of the First Order being the new evil rebels, rather like in the Timothy Thrawn trilogy. Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of tweak the roles a little bit for sure. JJ was executive producer, so Ryan still needed his approval. This is the thing about executive producer. I don't think executive producers do anything. except for pay for it and maybe keep it on track. I kind of wonder how much hands-on executive producers have. I don't know. If you know, man, please put that in the comment section below. I think it needed Kathleen Kennedy's approval because she was the producer in charge, but who knows? I don't know. How can all the new canon books be so amazing, but the movies be so divisive, the writers and directors? Honestly, I have not read any of the new books. Actually, that's not true. I'm just looking over here on my bookshelf. What did I read? I read, where is it? Oh, did I donate it back? Yeah, sometimes when I read books, I donate them. I read the Tarkin book, which I really liked. And I read the Rebel Dawn from the Star Wars Rebels characters, but I've not read any of the new Disney books. I'm not a big Star Wars book. Whoops, that was weird. Not a big Star Wars book guy. I'm just now starting to get into it and getting back into it. I read a few of them 20 years ago, but not a lot. So I'd have to check those out. Tried to read the new canon, Aftermath, etc. They were pretty bad. Okay, they ended up at the charity shop. Okay, well, there you go. My buddy Jason Ward got all of his scoops right. It's amazing the number of the leaks, how right they were. So, yeah, really, really did. Sith Lord, the Emperor still won. He was able to get rid of the Skywalker bloodline, and his bloodline took the name and lives on and takes the Skywalker legacy. That is a great point. Yeah, that carries a lot of weight that the Emperor won ultimately because he wiped out the Skywalker, and he's going to continue. His bloodline is going to continue. That darkness, that Sith line will continue. That's interesting. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Raylo is also as messed up in the head as the hate group Fandom Menace. Yeah, there's a lot of messed up stuff going on. There really is. Yeah, the Rise of Palpatine, just Aftermath. I guess that's the book, right? Rose kissed Ray. Where is Finn when you need him? Did I say that by accident? Oh, sorry if I did. Chewed me too. I'm about to walk into work, but I find a few canon books for you. Thanks. Give them a go. There's a bunch, and they're all different. Unless they're the Skywalker blood, and they reform from him, killing her a little baby we don't know about yet. Healing. Yeah, sorry. Voice to text. Yeah, the voice to text technology. We still haven't worked that out yet. So that's kind of just some of my initial thoughts. Later on today, when my son gets back from Christmas shopping, we're going to make a video together, kind of summarize some of this stuff, put it into a little bit of a shorter video that we can kind of push out there and get out to people. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Skywalker Saga is done. Don't really know how I feel about that. It's kind of weird. 42 years. 42 freaking years. I look around, and this is what's funny about my life is everywhere I look, I see Star Wars. Like I'm sitting here. This is my hobby station where I paint. So I've got my painting station here. I got my Star Wars Legion miniatures all here. Obviously, I got my Funko Pop collection over here on the side. I got my board game collection, where a whole lot of them are Star Wars board games. I've got a bunch of comic books here that stay on this shelf until I read them. Then they go into boxes and storage. A whole lot of those are Star Wars. Just started getting back into finding old copies of the novels, and I'm trying to find them without the Legends banner. So I've been going to yard sales and secondhand bookstores. I'm trying to get all of these. I want the whole collection. I want every single book, even if I never read them. I just want them. So those are on the shelves here as well. I have a Stormtrooper, screen accurate Stormtrooper costume standing in the corner just over there beside my TV. And it's kind of over. We're not getting any new Star Wars movies for years because Lucasfilm doesn't know what they own. You don't know what you own. You own one of the greatest modern day mythological stories ever written. And you have no clue what you own. So, hey, Black Angus Reviews, so awesome to have you here. Appreciate you stopping in there, buddy. Just reflecting on the fact that the Skywalker Saga is done. Part of me is basically saying, well, it was already done. it was done in Return of the Jedi. It lived on in the EU through books and things like that. So Second Street Marvel made us aware. Oh, that's cool. I appreciate him for doing that. So yeah, it's just a weird feeling. I actually, if you've seen some of my older videos, before I kind of switched over to pop culture, I used to do a lot of leadership videos, leadership development. And over the last couple of years, I have officially gone through my midlife crisis. It was fun. I didn't do anything stupid. Thanks be to God for that. Didn't buy a motorcycle because I'm cheap. And but this change in Star Wars to hit right while I was going through this midlife crisis was kind of fascinating, because it's like, hey, I've always been known as the Star Wars guy. My whole life I've been known as the Star Wars guy, and suddenly I find myself not liking Star Wars. What do you do with that, right? So, yeah. But they definitely dropped the ball with this trilogy, in your opinion. Sis Lord, I agree with you. They did. There was so much potential. Even by scrapping the EU and wanting to start something over, so easy to just spend a little bit more time, get some people around the table who actually study mythology and study religion. And I get it. We live in this Hollywood culture where we don't talk about that stuff anymore. But that's what George Lucas did. He studied mythology. He studied religion. And you needed that to be a part of this conversation to understand the lore. So, no, even worse, you bought Pops. You know why I started buying Pops? I started buying Pops when I started going through this thing of not liking Star Wars. I was trying to find a way to start liking it again. So I don't pay full price for these. I just buy these from as cheap as possible. And hey, yes, for those of you who got to jump out, thanks again for jumping in today. If you haven't done that already, if you could just hit that like button, that would mean a lot to me before you head out. Thanks so much. So the only reason I started buying Pops is I was trying to find a way to reinvigorate my love for Star Wars. I think they're cute, but I'm not paying $20 a pop for one of these things. That ain't happening. So I usually, again, I go to like Comic-Cons and things like that going, hey, 5 for $10, deal. And I'll buy all of them. The only one that I paid a lot of money for was this guy right here, Captain Rex, because I'm a big fan of Captain Rex. And that one I paid $30 for online because I wanted to get that one. So, yeah, very happy it's over, but it could have been better. You know what? I totally agree with you. I'm kind of in the same way. I'm kind of glad it's done. Glad this trilogy is just done and behind us. I don't think they're going to do anything much with these characters. I think Rey, Finn, and Poe are just going to go and just disappear eventually. And we'll see what they're going to do. I'm enjoying The Mandalorian. It's not perfect, but I'm enjoying it. It feels like Star Wars. The Jedi Order video game, haven't played it yet because it's under my Christmas tree. So starting next Wednesday, I'll be playing that. Looking forward to it. Feels like Star Wars. Been getting back into old EU books again. That's been reinvigorating my love for this. So, you know what? We'll just stay hopeful. And we'll just kind of see where this goes. So anyways, I am going to have to sign off. I've got some Christmas presents that I need to wrap while the rest of my family is out. So I want to wrap this stuff before they're gone. Thank you so much for each and every one of you that popped in here today. I know I'm long-winded. I know I'm a crazy person when it comes to this stuff. But the beauty of the Star Wars fandom, whether you're a Phantom Menace person, whether you're a Grey Order person, whether you're a nothing person, what I love about each and every one of you is how just Star Wars brings so many different people together. Different faith, different religions, different backgrounds, different beliefs, different sexual orientations. It's amazing how Star Wars has spoken for 42 years to the human heart and has brought us together. I want to keep bringing us together, even in our disagreements. And again, I so appreciate each and every one of you. So I'm going to sign off now. God bless you. Have a great rest of your day. And hopefully you'll join me again soon in one of my live chats and in the next video. And again, like some of you posted, if ever you want to do a live stream together, please shoot me a DM on Twitter. If you don't have it, I'll, you know what? Let me just quickly put that here in the chat. Oh, you know what? I don't know how to do that from this. Never mind. I'll take care of that later. But yeah, send me a DM. And, I just love getting to know you guys more and more. And if there's a way we can help each other, help our channels grow, that'd be awesome. I'm just about to hit 4,000 watched hours, which is awesome, but I'm still a little short on those subscribers. So hopefully I get some more subscribers. It was really booming for a while. I guess I just have to talk more about Kanye West, because I got like 200 new subscribers when I talked Kanye West. So I think people just thought it was funny watching the old bald white guy try to talk about Kanye, because I don't know anything about Kanye West music. No offense to those who love his music, because I'm just no clue. But it's good stuff. Of course, my favorite song of his is Gold Digger. Probably shouldn't sing that one out too loud. Anyways, have a great rest of your day, everybody. God bless you, and I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.